Inside the Music with Sleemusickology. From creativity to business and everything in between. Slee Music. Tomorrow's music today.
We're live today here on Sleemusickology, and we have Max Deering from Graham, North Carolina on with us today. And I'm so excited, Max, that you could join us on this late evening.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, that's great. So I had the opportunity to come down to your studio several times and record, and you just have such an amazing studio there in North Carolina. As you see, guys, his studio, he makes my studio, my little hole in the wall room look like a you know what I mean, your mama's basement compared to his studio.
Oh no.
So let's talk about some of the history, because when let's talk about how you got started in this music in the music business first of all.
Well, I think my mama dropped me on my head a few times too many. Now, whether that was accidental or on purpose, you'd probably have to ask some of my relatives. But no, I started out playing drums when I was just a wee little lad. And I found my brother's drum set in the basement and started banging on that. And then he finally taught me how to play, and played all through high school, went to college, and found out, what really good players are like. And I said, I don't know. I'm just going to play for fun. And took a break from the music industry for, probably 10 years, 12 years, something like that. And got hit by lightning, and I found out that music was kind of my therapy, my physical therapy, mental therapy, emotional therapy. And one thing led to another, and some friends invited me to come out and play. And we thought we did okay. It wasn't too horrible. And we tried it again the next week. And after a few weeks of trying that, we started playing, and ended up needing to have a demo done. And we weren't really wanting to spend a whole lot of money on going in the studio. Right. And when I checked out one of the local music stores, fellow said, "There's this great new technology. And it's called home recording." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Yeah. This ought to be fun." What was I thinking? Look at me now.
Millions of dollars later. So did you start off with audio engineering? Did you start off doing any kind of remote recording, or we just started in your home?
Well, I actually started out in mobile recording,
Okay.
because it's kind of like live, which, I've done, PA grunt work ever since I was, big enough to hold a drum kit and, move it around the stage. Everybody's like, "Hey, you dummy, grab a hold of this and help me move it here and move it there." So, I grew up in live, and, always dreamed about recording. And when I really got into it, I started out with a little Tascam 40-4.
Oh yeah.
And I tried to record our band, and it was just
4 tracks.
I get some levels, great, but I could get some levels. And we just weren't exactly what you would call a multi-track band, where we could do everything on 4 tracks.
Right.
Any kind.
Right.
And so then I moved to an ADAT. And
Oh yeah.
I got a couple.
That's where the bomb. You 8 tracks. You sing them together. Oh man, you have something wonderful.
You know, I was doing 16 track stuff, and you know, guys loved it. I started working with a couple of churches, and um, was doing as much remote work as I possibly could,
Oh yeah.
and just love the live experience because the thing about music is it just you know a single note, I guess, played long enough is a concerto. Anybody, music is anything that anybody wants to call it that.
Right.
But when two or more people are playing music, there's something happens, especially when you get ensembles and you start to
Yeah.
get big ensembles, like, you know, choirs and orchestras and combos and ensembles.
Right.
Uh, Thing from horns to whatever, that's a live living performance. That
Right.
once that performance is done, that's it will never happen again.
Yeah.
So capturing that moment became just kind of well, it became a passion, because y- yeah, you can go ahead and you can edit it and you can modify it and you can do all this kind of fun stuff to it, but without the heart and the soul of an actual performance, human beings, interacting with each other,
Yeah.
making this glorious living thing, you know, it's just it's a buzz. I mean,
Yeah.
when you capture a great performance, there's nothing like it.
Yeah. You're
So,
right.
so I completely lost my mind and um, needed to come up with a mixing facility because, it's kind of tough to mix inside of a 7 by 14 foot trailer in the middle of December and January.
Oh
So,
yeah. I would say so myself.
yeah. So, I'm, you know, found this place here um, and built the studio. What was
So
I thinking?
was that the studio that you're in currently?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've only built one, and I don't know if I'm crazy enough to build another one.
Well, when I started recording with you, people started telling me, "Hey, man, this guy built this studio with all the wood on his on from his backyard." I mean, is that true? I mean, is that the name of Dark Pond? I mean, tell me about how this studio was built, and did you build it yourself by hand?
um, yeah, let me kind of show you a little bit about the place. Um, the oak that you're seeing there, the light colored wood, is oak that came off the property. And if you can look through the window there, um, that's all oak and walnut that came off the property. I guess I watched what's his name? The Woodwright Shop on PBS one time too many. And I thought, oh, I ought to be able to do this. So I lost my mind and had a couple of the oak trees and a couple of walnut trees and a cedar tree, which if I get, no, the door is closed in there. But that door right there behind me, wherever it is, yeah, there, right there, is the ISO booth. And that's where one of the prettiest trees on the property ended up. That was a cedar tree that came down in an ice storm. And I'm like, I'm saving that. And yeah, it's it's kind of a thing about being able to take and make something with your own two grubby paws and um, have it turn out this way. I'm just absolutely thrilled and amazed that it actually turned out as well as it has. I mean, I guess even a blind squirrel can find a nut every now and then.
Right. So, what kind of board is that you use back there? Your audio
Oh,
board?
oh, yeah.
What kind of audio
Uh,
board is that? What kind of audio board
this
is
is,
that?
sorry about that. I'm sitting here in the middle of working on an audio book right now. Um, Custom Series 75. Um, oh man,
Neve?
it's the best of all worlds. It's um, you know, every engineer's dream to have a little bit of API, a little bit of Neve, and a little bit of SSL, and um, that's really what the Custom Series 75 delivers. I mean, it's just it's a lovely console. You've got that wonderful British sound from the Neve. You can get aggressiveness out of it like you can an API. Um, you've got different bussing so that you can bus like uh, more modern SSL, like a 4000, 5000 series busing system, or you can just kind of go old school Neve, and you can actually kind of push some of the line amps pretty hard, like an API, and it's just a really versatile console. You can go from uh, a mix setup to a tracking setup in just a couple of milliseconds.
Wow.
It's
Yeah.
they're
Yeah. Yeah. So,
uh, actually safe. It's a super versatile console,
nice. So,
and
question.
you can use it like a fire, like a regular console. I
Right.
use it every which way that I can.
When I was cutting with you down there, I cut on this piano that was down there, and that piano was amazing. And that piano that I was playing reminded me of a piano that I used to play on in Charlotte, North Carolina, at a studio called Reflections. And I'm like, yo, man, this piano is such a great feel. And come to find out, I think you end up purchasing that piano. So many people have made the greatest records on that piano. Some of the greatest records have been made on that
Oh,
piano.
yeah. Well, that was one of the things that I recognized and I heard about Reflections closing. I said they've got some magnificent, history.
Oh yeah.
I want to try and preserve some of that. So I went down there, and I, I had a small grand piano here, but I was a wife who plays piano, so um, I
Yeah.
traded her out.
Oh yeah.
So I gave her
Yeah.
the little baby grand, and, that piano here, as well as some other great gear.
Yeah.
And
And for all you guys that
it's
always
just
wanted
a
to play on that
really
Reflections
well,
piano is right there. I said for all you guys that always
you
wanted to
know,
play on that Reflections piano, it's right there.
yeah. I mean, and she that piano just loves this room. I mean,
Wow.
it takes command of it, and she'll hurt you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And that
But
that's so important. Before I want to ask you one more thing before I let you go. Sound design. If you can hear me, am I still breaking up a little? Sound design.
little bit.
The guys that have rooms like that are small, like my room, and what is I see you on some of
Yeah.
these chat rooms and some of these things, and I see you talking about sound design. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I think that when I come in your studio, the way it's designed acoustically is just unbelievable. You know what I mean? When I go in the rooms, when you shut the door, you know that you're in a studio. You know what I mean? When you shut those doors, you know that it seems like I just am
Yeah.
closed into the room. So tell me about your design, or tell me, or give guys some tips on how to best design their rooms. Did you hear the last part of what I said?
Okay. Yeah. Let me talk real quick about the I guess you might say the philosophy of the way that I approach the acoustic treatment in the rooms, uh, more so than um, than the pure acoustics surrounding each room. The way that I looked at things was as practical as I possibly could. I needed an ISO booth. An ISO booth is really just for isolating things. So I wanted that to be kind of the deadest room. And then the next deadest room would technically be the sweet spot here in the control room. And the next liveliest room would be the live room. And then the next liveliest room was going to be my hallway. And then I figured, well, if nothing else, I'll stick some microphones in the bathroom and I'll tile the bathroom. You know, so
question for you. I
I've
don't
got a wide variety of rooms. Yeah.
You said the ISO room, the booth should be the ISO room. I kind of encourage guys sometimes not to make your room so dead, because sometimes that takes the character out of the mouth, out of the microphone. What do you say about that?
Amen.
Okay.
You know, I absolutely agree. Unless you just don't have enough space to do anything in, you want some natural character. You know,
Okay.
if you've just got a room that's, you know, really tiny, like a 8x8.
Right. That's my room.
Which my ISO booth is, well, you know, my ISO booth is 6x8, and it's not completely dead, but it is neutral. You know, there are some reflective surfaces in there. You can see the slot there, the slat pattern. That slat pattern is used in, oops, don't want that camera to fall down. That slot pattern is used throughout the room or throughout the studio. And that's where you really are going to need to dig in and fight some math, or my best solution is to hire a professional architectural or acoustical engineer. You know, like you know, John Brandt, or my favorite is, you know, somebody who can actually do knowledgeable engineering for you. There's plenty of other folks. You know, I can name a bunch of them that, you know, will only handle a project from a certain level. But if you're going to do it yourself, you know, Thomas, I can't say his name correctly. Thomas, I apologize. John Brandt, Roger Bay, are probably willing to work with you to help you do what you want to do. But when you're looking at a room that is really small, if it's completely dead, you're going to have a hard time getting reverbs to even sound natural. You're going to have a hard time with delays sound natural, because there's no other acoustic cues for your ears to use to make sense of things. So you know, if you've got a small room, yeah, it should be dead to the point that you're not getting standing wave reflections like a flutter echo or a slap echo. But you need some hard surface in there for the reverberation time to sound natural. You'll never get a small enclosure to sound like a big enclosure. Just like you can really never make a large enclosure sound like a small enclosure.
And a lot of times I tell a guy, I'm like, you know, everything is in a close mic setting. So a lot of times when the room is, if all you're looking is just for a dead room, you're everything doesn't call for a dead room. Even with drums, you know what I mean? Sometimes I need that ambience of that room. I just don't want a closed sound because some of these
Oh
guys
yeah,
always
yeah.
say this. It's a saying that they say, and they say we're fixing the mix. Well, if I got to fix in the mix, then it's a problem because normally what I hear when I record it, I want it to sound similar to what it's going to sound like when I'm mixing.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I think you and I both work off the philosophy of you know track like there's no mixing and mix like there's no mastering.
Oh yeah,
Um,
wow, that's good. That's a good
you
one.
know,
That's a
you,
good one.
you know the closer to a finished product that you can do your tracking, the better off you are.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, um, yeah. I think it's uh, only prudent to uh, do everything you can um, to make that happen as early in the stage as you possibly can. Obviously, to me, it's the order of importance is you know a great song to begin with never hurts, but a great song, a great player playing a great instrument, um, then the environment, then the mic placement and choice, they're kind of synonymous, I think.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and then after that, it's the mic pre, and after the mic pre, it's your converter. And once you're in the converter, you're done.
Oh yeah.
So get it right going in, makes it a whole lot easier. It's worth the extra time. Oh, diffusers.
Yeah. Those are good to have. You were actually showing me how to use my diffusers in my room one time. Yeah. You were actually showing me how to use my diffusers in my room one time.
Oh, daggone.
Did you hear me?
Oh yeah. Um, you know, yeah, sure can. Diffusers are really fun to use. I use them all the time in the way of gobos and things like that. Um, because, you know, essentially what a diffuser is going to give you is basically think of it more as uh, the the speech range. Now it's not going to get everything way down here and get it to bounce all over the place, but it'll get everything, up here in the mid range. It'll help diffuse it so that it softens the reflections. Um, Everybody says, oh, well, you can do the same thing with a bookshelf. And yeah, technically you can, but you can do the same thing if you held up drumsticks. I mean,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right.
um,
Right.
you know, you know, uh, no two rooms are exactly the same. Thank God.
Right.
Um, because they'd either all be great and we'd be spoiled, or they'd all suck and we'd hate life. Uh,
Yeah.
but I think every room, I take that back. Almost every room should be able to be modified with either absorptive material or reflective material to get a pleasing overall tonality or within the enclosure. No telling what's going to happen outside of that enclosure, but at least in the enclosure, you can do something to make it not suck as bad.
Right. Right.
Um,
So do you
is
prefer
to make it
outboard
not
gear?
stop.
Do you prefer outboard gear or do you prefer software as far as plugins and as far as effects and your dynamic stuff?
Um, Kind of
You
genre
know,
specific,
nowadays,
but
I'm a big software guy. Like I do a lot of software. I do a lot of so my plugins and stuff. I kind of mix from plugins. However, I grew up. I grew up. When I say I grew up in the industry. I'm not that old, but I cut my teeth off of outboard gear. So a lot of outboard gear that I know about, the guys don't know about. All they know is wave bundles and all this stuff. But I know about the manly gear, and you know
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean.
yeah.
So what is your preference?
Oh yeah. Um, I prefer to track through analog. Depending upon how long I have to mix or how big the project is, um, I prefer to serve the project. If this is a passionate project where, yeah, we're going to do mixes and uh, we're not going to really have a chance to go back and, do 4 or 5 months worth of edits and mixes and things like that. And I'm going to mix it live on the console, or if I'm doing a broadcast, I prefer to mix through the analog. You know, if it's something that's going to be a long-term project, um, I'll go ahead and print my reverb stems. I might um print a few. Maybe I'll print a bass track or I'll print something. Um, but if it's a long-term project where I'm going to need to do a lot of recalls, I'm going to stay in the box as much as I can. I'll use a reverb. I'll use uh, an outboard delay. I've got the 480L. I've got 2 EMTs. Why wouldn't I use them? But there's so many great plugins. Um,
Yeah.
My API 2500 versus the API 2500 plugin. There's not much difference, and there. I'm not going to say that they sound the same because, you know, the problem with the plugin is that plugin is the exact same unit on every track.
Mhm.
Um, each analog piece has its own distinct character, and I'm not saying that the API 2500 or any other plugin that's modeled after the device is the best device that they ever had, nor the worst. It's just one of the devices that
Right.
was sampled. It's
Right.
one of the devices that was, you know, uh, engineered into the plugin.
Right.
Maybe I DBX 160 versus what the DBX 160 is, or but uh, it's liable to sound pretty daggone close and pretty
Oh yeah.
daggone good on whatever I decide to put it on.
Nice. Nice.
There's yeah, I've got favorite plugins, and it's either A, because I like the way that they sound, or the ease of use that they offer me compared to some other plugin that sounds pretty daggone close. Um,
So,
you
so
know, I
Max, let me ask you this: what are you working on right now musically?
I,
What are you doing? I said, what are you working on right now musically? What are you doing musically right now in the studio? I know you have a band or a little quintet or something that you also play with. I think you play drums with them. Is that correct? The drums with a quintet that you play with?
yeah, yeah. Well, we play classic rock and roll. We just get out there and make noise,
Nice.
but we have a lot of fun. Um, let's see. Well, as far as projects, I do a wide variety of stuff. I just haven't been that busy this year. So
Yeah.
I've
Well,
enjoyed every project that I've done.
the
Um, just
pandemic has
finished
set a lot of
a,
people back.
uh, I'm sorry?
I said the pandemic set a lot of people back. The pandemic set a lot of people back.
Oh, daggone. Oh, yes, it has. Um, I think I've done. No, I haven't quite done as many projects since March as what I did, or March through December, as I did from January 1st to January 31st. So it's been real slow.
Yeah.
But they have been good projects. I've done a rock project. I've got a jazz project that came through. Uh, Finished up a uh, new album for a local group that's doing real well. Um,
Yeah, so
and
you've been still keeping busy in the midst of this pandemic. So let me ask you something. We're gonna close it up here. Where can people find you at? You
yeah,
got a website, you on Facebook, and are you open to the public? I know the pandemic's going on, but how does that work? Just kind of tell us like where they can find you at, whether it's an email, whether it's through Facebook, whether it's through your website, all that good stuff.
yeah. We're kind of we're essentially um, all but shut down right now. Um, and it's not that I'm not taking on clients. It's just that right now um,
Being safe.
I'm a little leery of risking people's health.
I
Um,
agree.
but for folks that are willing to certify that yes they have been tested, that they're COVID free, that they will isolate. Um, you know, I'm more than happy to talk to people about working with them on their project. But I want it to be a good project for them. So,
And
um,
also,
but you can
also,
catch me
Max,
at Dark Pine. I'm sorry.
I said also a lot of stuff can be done digitally. You could send stuff into Max, and Max can mix it, or Max can, do whatever editing that you need. Also,
Um, yeah, which is what I was going to say. Right now I'm working on an audio book. It's kind of a long-term project, so it's been keeping me, fairly stockpiled with work for a while. Um, but I do take online mission clients. More than happy to work that way. And you can catch me at darkpinestudios.com. You can find me on Facebook. Uh, Look me up under Dark Pine Studios. Um, and you can find me best, probably the easiest way is to email me, and that's max at darkpinestudios.com. And
okay.
I love to talk to anybody about the project. And I also run a group for do-it-yourself studio builders. I'm also involved in a couple of the forums, on the internet. Um, because I I decided to lose my mind and build a studio. So I want to help others lose their mind and do the same thing that I did, which is deplete the wallet and have a whole lot of fun getting there.
Cool deal. Well, you guys,
Um,
Max is available to talk to online at any time. You can find him, as he said, at Dark Pine Studios. He's always available. He's a good guy. He loves to talk, and he'll answer any of your questions. Uh, Also, just know we are in the middle of COVID, so his studio is not really open to the public, but yet he'll do digital things for you, and all that kind of good stuff. I'm happy that Max Deering was able to come on with us today on Sleemusickology. I appreciate you being on so much. You want to close us out? Any good thing you want to say to engineers out there that are
yeah,
just studio builders that are trying to build a studio? Any tips that you want to leave them with?
yeah, uh, yeah. don't be afraid to experiment. Remember just a couple of quick things. Sound travels at 1 foot per millisecond. Use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
Space is place. Don't be afraid to try new things. And if something's not working, stop and start again. This isn't, not everybody gets it right the first time. Some of us never get it right anytime, but we all try. And that's the name of is, think creatively, think outside of the box, and, don't give up. Just keep going. You can do it.
Yeah.
There's nothing like this.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for joining us for another podcast and vlog here on Sleemusickology. We had today our special guest, Max Deering, in Dark Pine Studios, and I'm excited that you were able to join us. Listen, we'll see you next time on Sleemusickology.